Welcome, merry listeners, to the Breaking Script podcast with Lala and Nini.
This is where we unwrap the enchanting world of Hallmark movies and the occasional Asian dramas.
As we dive into these cinematic journeys, we're not just recapping, we're embarking on a therapeutic adventure.
Think of it as our cinematic self-care session.
And no, we're not just casual spectators. We're here to dissect the undercurrent messages, unravel the complexities, and even spot those not-so-magical moments of unhealthy behaviors.
And through it all, we'll be infusing our own unique perspectives and life experiences along the way.
Get ready to snuggle up as we explore the cheer, the charm, and the occasional cheesy wonder of these festive films. Welcome back to the Breaking Script podcast with Lala and Nini. I'm Lala, the non-French speaking French Canadian. I currently reside in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
And I'm Nini. I'm first generation ABC. It's actually American born Taiwanese for me. We won't get in the difference between Chinese and Taiwanese, but Chinese New Year is coming up. So happy Lunar New Year to those who celebrate. And I speak a really broken Mandarin in Taiwanese, like kindergarten Chinglish level. But that's neither here nor there. I'm from Kansas City, by the way, home of Hallmark, capital of the world.
If you're new to the Breaking Script podcast, we are sister-in-laws on a mission to spread joy and glimmers while offering ways to open windows of tolerance through watching Hallmark movies and the way home.
Woohoo! So we do this by sprinkling in mindful conversations while spreading awareness of polyvagal theory and neuroscience and all things mental health and self-care, again, through the laughter and what we call breaking script with Hallmark movies, because we love food and boba. Eventually on this podcast, I'm going to be introducing Lala to the wonderful world of Asian dramas, but right now we are obsessed with The Way Home. As so much of the Way Home fandom world is, like, right, Lala? Like, even my brother.
Yeah, last night he sat and watched all of episode 3, and he says he's not really that into it, but I know he is. He actually even provided a theory today. So I know he has to be into it.
It's hilarious. Well, we have him to thank for our podcast name. We have 4 unique segments that we use each week that give you a guide to break script. You like that? Because, like, we love foods. We love breaking bread, but instead of breaking bread, it's breaking script. You see what we did there? Anyway, we break script with the healthy and unhealthy romantic and family relationships, as well as behaviors in Hallmark movies and The Way Home. We always start with a movie summary that has been likened by fans to an audio spa, like, you know, the old school radio story time. So even if you haven't had a chance to watch The Way Home, and actually, I have this suggestion, because I feel like there's a lot of people who are learning about their nervous system and they're realizing they need to watch more calm things. So I feel like we have these new people coming into the Hallmark world, just like ourselves. And some people might not be able to watch The Way Home season 2 yet. You can listen to our summaries instead. We're like the soap digest of The Way Home. Come and keep up. So we always have summaries, even if you don't have access to Hallmark movies. You can still have experience as if you did watch, and then you can follow along. Our ratings, we rate every movie, every show. We call them boba ratings because that's how much we love boba. And then we have 4 unique segments. Now, you guys, are The Way Home season 1, episode 10 continuously has plays and listens every day? I don't know what it is. Is it because I'm going to put it a poll up today. And please, if you haven't yet, stop what you're doing right now. Go to Apple Podcasts, even if that's not what you use to listen. And can you please scroll all the way down of our show page, click the 5-star rating, and write a review, please. And in your review, I have a question for you. Do you listen to our episodes for words like sociopath and narcissist? Because the episode where we had HSP, grief, and sociopaths is the one that is off the charts right now. I'm just so curious if that's the keyword. But that's, I think, why we're trending, because we have 4 segments. Our first segment is What's Love Got to Do with It? But for The Way Home, it's Home Sweet Home. But I think it's our second segment that for our regular Hallmark movies, it's yeah, Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls. That segment sometimes has a Omo, I don't want no scrubs, Nardar. See what I did there? It's a narcissistic radar. You guys, is that like when you listen to, like, you want to hear, because I will tell you, I am a newly certified narcissist abuse specialist, on my own journey of becoming a certified life coach. But I will tell you, in this recovery journey, because I've walked with a lot of friends through this, whether they're experienced narcissistic abuse in the corporate world or in ministry organizations or in family, obviously, a lot of romantic relationships and parental relationships, actually. It's helpful. You can read information about it, but until you hear someone else's story, it's like things don't click, right?
So true.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
does your therapist ever use stories to help you
No.
things click?
No, I feel like I have a very unique therapy journey that probably only works for me.
I love your therapist. I wish I could have your therapist.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
I've said this before. I want my therapist to go everywhere with me. I wish she was in my pocket. She is so good. She knows me. That's good therapy, people.
yeah, it's so true. It's so true. So anyways, that's our second segment. Then we have the Aigu Oi with the poodles already for our regular Hallmark movies. For The Way Home, it's the dead ends. We don't have a whole lot of plot holes, continuity issues in The Way Home. I'm listening to other podcasters though, and I'm realizing like maybe we're lacking. They're picking out a whole lot more things. Interesting.
Oh.
I listen. However, I try not to listen to anything until our episode is out.
Same.
Okay. And then we end with Jayo, Paiting, happily ever after. For you Asian drama lovers, you will know what those words mean. It's like cheering on in Mandarin and Korean. But for The Way Home, it's The Way We See It, where we talk about theories, which is my favorite part. I think I forgot to say that our second segment in The Way Home is Surprising Detours. Sorry, guys, I am all over the place, but you can scroll down to our show notes and get the journal to follow along with the way that we break script with The Way Home and the unique 4 segments. I'm going to also link every episode. Lala, I can't believe we didn't talk about this.
What?
Because Lala's a musician. Every episode is a song title. Did you realize that?
No.
For season 2. It is a song.
They're really leaning into the music, which I'm so happy about. I feel like
I know.
I don't know if that was intentional in season 1, but definitely is emerging. Like, people love the music.
Oh, absolutely. And they're rolling with it. They're gonna lean into it. And so this episode 3, When You Were Young, is a song by the Killers. Brilliant lyrics. I'll link it below. I love at the end of the song, it talks about you sit there in your heartache, waiting on some beautiful boy to save you from your old ways. You play forgiveness. Watch it now. Here he comes. He doesn't look a thing like Jesus, but he talks like a gentleman, like you imagined when you were young. I was like, what is happening? How does this play into the way we see it in the theories? We just need to dive into it. Let's go.
Let's get into this episode where the Landry women and Elliot reflect on what it means to grow up as they hang on to memories from their younger days while accepting who they have become. This is Season 2, Episode 3 of The Way Home, When You Were Young. In present day, Alice is in her room reading from Alice Through the Looking Glass. That's what Dell got her from this state sale. In 1814, Kat chases after the boy she saw when she exited the pond, thought to be Jacob, but when she catches up with him, she realizes that it is not her Jacob. As he runs off, a man approaches to ask if she needs assistance. He introduces himself as Elijah Landry. In present day, Dell is loading her truck with crates of produce to sell at the market. Remembering the news that Hank told her, Alice runs over to help Dell. In the meantime, in 1814, Kat gets acquainted with Elijah. She learns that the boy's name is, in fact, Jacob, but he is Elijah's grandson, son to his son William. Elijah offers Kat to stay with him for the night since she's been traveling. She accepts and realizes his home is her home 200 years later. She also learns that Elijah's wife Rebecca died, and his son helped to build the Port Haven lighthouse. In present day, Elliot arrives at the Landry farm looking for Kat. He gets lost in a memory of his teenage self, Jacob, and Colton. Teen Elliot tells them that he must get home before his dad leaves again. Colton tells Teen Elliot that there's always a seat for him at their table. At the market, Alice helps Dell at her stall, protesting giving away generous free samples. Monica approaches and offers Alice a job at the Point. Alice tells her she will think about it, as she would rather help Dell. At the market, Rita visits the stall with flyers featuring the Port Haven Lighthouse. She's offering haunted tours for it for a price. Alice suggests Dell save her money and not attend the tour, and Alice wonders why Alice is so concerned. Alice blurts out, "Because we are going to lose the farm." This catches the attention of everyone. In 1814, Kat notices Jacob's initials on the table, which he uses to leave his mark. As Elijah stokes the fire, he whistles a love song that Colton wrote for Dell. Shocked, Kat wonders how he knows that song. He tells her his other son used to sing it all the time as a boy. He took this son in 20 years ago, but he's still considered a Landry. His son William even named his son after his Jacob. Kat wonders where that Jacob is, and Elijah reveals he's in Canada delivering a ship for the war efforts. Elijah tells her he will be returning home, but wonders how Catherine knows the song that Jacob used to sing as a child. She confesses she's been searching for over 20 years for her brother Jacob. Elijah relates as that is the amount of time that has passed since he took in that Jacob. He tells her he always knew that someone would come looking for him. He takes her hands and welcomes her into the family. In the present, Dell and Alice suffer a flat tire. Alice apologizes for sharing the news aloud at the market. Dell tells her not to jump to dramatic conclusions as it can start rumors. As they prepare to change the tire, a man pulls up to offer help. Dell declines, but the man accidentally leaves his wrench behind. At home, Elliot flashes back to see himself running into the house, calling up the stairs to his dad, who is not home. Teen Elliot finds peanut butter and jelly on the table with a note that reads, "Back Friday." In 1814, Elijah tells Kat what happened the day he found Jacob. He was separated from his family, and they have provided him with a loving home ever since. When Susanna Augustine returns, Kat discovers that she is Jacob's betrothed, while Susanna learns that Kat is Jacob's sister. In the present day, Dell is on the phone, shooting down rumors of farm troubles. She walks outside to the fields as her mystery horse stands behind her. She greets him. Later, Alice wonders who the mystery horse is. Dell tells her she doesn't know, but she will find out. In 1814, Susanna and Kat are at the pond's edge. Susanna is suspicious of Kat being Jacob's sister because the last time they met, she told her she was looking for the child Jacob, not the man. Kat tries to explain, but Susanna says Jacob never mentioned a sister and finds Kat deceitful. She pulls out a knife as a warning to Kat, and to prove that she means no harm, Kat jumps into the pond and does not resurface. Upon Kat's return, she sees Elliot tending to his lawn. She shares that she found Jacob alive. A shocked Elliot hugs and praises her. They go inside, and Kat further explains that Jacob is living a happy adult life, and she shouldn't expect him to leave. That said, Kat still wants Jacob in her time. Back home, Kat shares the details with Alice and wonders why Elijah and Rebecca only listed their one son, William, in the almanac. Alice encourages her to not give up hope. Alice wants to go back with Kat, but Kat refuses. The next morning on her way to work, Kat sees Dell with the mystery horse, and before she drives off, Kat notices that Dell looks happy. Dell smiles at the horse and gets lost in a memory of herself and Colton discussing horses. Rita pulls up and shakes her out of her memory. She's brought over tons of pies, courtesy of the community members who heard the rumors about the farm. Dell says it was all a misunderstanding and tells Alice to find something else to do with her time than worry. At the Herald, Kat gets a young visitor offering to work for her as an intern. They introduce themselves as Casey Goodwin, Evelyn's grandchild. Kat offers them an internship to go through the archives. As Casey walks over to the boxes to get started, Kat takes a phone call. She's looking to hire someone to do an age progression rendering. Outside, Alice approaches. Elliot apologizes to her for what's happened at Lingermore. Alice shares that the pond keeps rejecting her and seeks his advice. At the Herald, Alice walks in while announcing herself as a summer intern reporting for duty. She expects to find Kat, but instead finds Casey, who has already been hired as an intern. Alice tells Casey she didn't realize that her mom filled the position. She leaves and heads to the point to take the job Monica offered her. Alice begins work and is frazzled while trying to keep up. She spills coffee on Noah, the most popular guy at school. Monica reminds her that he graduated, so she shouldn't worry because she will eventually catch on. Elliot is outside the lighthouse staring at the benches. He's thrown into a flashback of himself with teen Kat there. While his dad is away, she offers him a seat at their table for dinner. Adult Kat snaps him out of the memory, and they sit on the same benches in the present. Kat reminds Elliot that Jacob built the lighthouse, which is proof that he lived a life beyond boyhood. Elliot uses the opportunity to correct himself. He shares he should have told her, although Jacob is an adult now, he will always be her little brother. Kat expresses regret for losing him. Elliot comforts her and expresses she was the best sister, and it extended to him because she treated him like family. He apologizes for what he said to her about Colton's death. He admits they are the family that he never had. Kat also apologizes and admits she won't be done with the past until she brings Jacob home. She doesn't want to lose Elliot either, and they shake hands. At the farm, Dell tells Alice that when she was younger, the family lost everything, including her horses, and she promised herself that it would never happen again. She doesn't want to let the farm go because it is the family legacy. Alice encourages her to follow her heart. As Alice walks away, the mystery horse walks over to Dell. Though it has been years, Dell hops on the horse and goes for a ride. Kat pulls up and is in awe at the sight. Kat and Alice are together in her room, and Kat shares that she made a pact with Elliot not to discuss time travel and about the age progression of Jacob. Kat shows Alice the image and tells her he's still their Jacob. Inside the laundry barn, a man pulls up. It's Sam, the one who tried to help Dell with her flat tire and hit on her. He bought Hank's farm next door, and though he hasn't taken over the lease on her land yet, he wanted to meet his neighbors. Dell also learns that the mystery horse is his, which he accuses her of stealing. In her room, Kat studies Jacob's age progression image on her phone while holding it next to a framed picture of him as a child. She accidentally drops the frame, and when she kneels to pick it up, she notices a stack of images of the pond are taped to the side of the desk underneath. Alice confronts Elliot outside his house. She recalls that Elliot once told her that they made a pact not to discuss her travels anymore. But she doesn't remember that and realizes they must have talked about that in another trip to the past that she has not taken yet. She recalls that her mom told her she never saw her again. So what could the pond want her to do? Elliot remains tight-lipped and offers her advice to not be in a hurry to jump back in. All of what she knows of them from the past will soon change, and Alice takes in what he's saying with confusion and unease. And that is the end of episode 3.
Okay, now is a part of our episode where we give this episode a rating out of 10 bobas just overall. So, Nini, what do you give this episode?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Yeah, like seriously, do we even need this segment anymore?
I feel like we don't.
Kind of across the board.
I don't feel like we need to do ratings anymore for The Way Home. I mean, do we need to break it down? The writing is just consistently brilliant. I love all the way that they do the surprises is consistently brilliant. And the way that they introduce new characters this week.
We met a lot of new characters this week.
A lot. And we're going to dive right into it in Home Sweet Home. So I think what I love the most is, and I'm going to disagree with Dan from Deck the Hallmark, because he feels like it's starting to feel sequel-y. And I'm like, no, I feel like the way that they're introducing new storylines and new cast members, new characters is seamless. It doesn't feel interruptive.
It's very natural.
Yes.
Okay,
it's
wait.
shocking.
One second.
Go ahead.
I actually would possibly agree, but only with what's his name? Sam. What's his name? The Sam guy.
Yeah.
The Sam
You're talking
Bishop.
about Sam Bishop.
He might be the only one that I feel is a little too placed and not as
Yeah.
natural, but everyone else,
Well,
so
he was
natural.
abrupt, and I feel like they did that I feel like they have a reason for everything. They're that genius. And I feel like you had to have that feeling with him. Like there's a
Yeah.
reason for it, right?
Okay, I'll give you that.
Okay. Should we dive right into it then?
Go for it.
So, our first segment is Home Sweet Home, where we talk about glimmers and what we love, and we break down the romantic and family relationships. For the way home, we always start with introducing the main characters. Let me rapid fire them. Number one, Sam Bishop, a new guy hitting on Dell, also her neighbor. Number two, Casey Goodwin, who is Evelyn Goodwin's grandchild in Port Haven for the summer while her dad is dealing with Evelyn's estate. Number three, Noah LeBlanc, who new guy. You would think that we would have met the most popular guy at
Guy in
Alice's
high
school.
school.
But that's fine. Okay. Alice spills coffee on him on her first day on the job at the point. I mean, we're going to get more, I guess, into their characters for Surprising Detours, right? But we just had to introduce them. Let's talk about romantic family relationships here as they're developing. Where would you like
Okay.
to start, Lala? Or good glimmers, whichever you want to start with.
Well, I'm going to start with a glimmer that I just have to throw it out there.
Okay.
Andie MacDowell is so beautiful.
Ugh.
I don't know why this episode, it just was like, maybe it's the joy that is coming out of Dell, but I was, there's that scene where she's stroking the horse and you see so much joy and you're just like, you are
Yes.
so beautiful.
Oh my gosh, that was totally a glimmer for me because even it was a glimmer for Kat because Kat
Yeah.
notices and she was like, Mom, you just look so happy.
I know.
So, lesson of the story, guys, is who needs a man? Get a horse.
Who needs a man? Get a horse. Exactly. Like just the
That's my
beauty
advice.
of Andie MacDowell / Dell. You were just like, wow, and I'm, I don't want to talk about age or anything like that, but just like she rocks that gray hair. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
right?
Like
Seriously. She's
she is,
seriously amazing in like every stage of her life. She's
yes,
just glows and is beautiful.
I know, seriously. So I just was like, I just need to acknowledge just what a wonderful woman she probably
We
is.
love
She
you,
just, it
Andie MacDowell.
shines from the inside out.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so some other glimmers. Well, so much unfolded. Okay, which is a little bit of like so much
Yes.
unfolded, which I know is in surprises, so I can't get to it. But things that I loved, obviously, was this continued relationship between Dell and Alice. That just
Yes.
hearing her call her grandma
I
and
know.
Alice being so concerned about Dell and how she was going to be and not being alone. I was also really happy to find out that the farm isn't gonna be taken away because they really set
Right.
that up in episode 2 that Dell financially is okay. She just needs to rent out the land or deal with the land. Like the
Well,
fact,
we're gonna have to discuss that in the way we see it.
okay.
So I'm like, I
But
don't
I
know if
was
she's
just
just
happy. Oh, you think
yeah.
she's bluffing? Dell.
Possibly.
Mm. I mean,
I
okay. Well,
just smashed her glimmer. I'm
I feel
sorry.
sad because I do not want the farm to be taken away.
Yeah.
Um, I I mean, we already talked about. I just love that we meet Elijah Landry and we hear the
Mhm.
story of Jacob. Um, I literally breathed a sigh of relief just hearing the story and meeting the family
Yeah.
because I mean, anytime you hear about a child's disappearance, it is terrible. So just
Horrible.
knowing that there's some type of I don't know, happiness or joy and even
Yeah.
how Kat feels. Anyways, this whole like the lighthouse, everything. I loved this episode.
Yeah. My continued glimmer is watching Kat and Alice's relationship.
Oh,
Like
that
it's like a
too. Yes.
blending of they're still mother-daughter. There's still so many like
Yeah.
mother-daughter moments, but it's a
Yes.
blending of like when they were besties as teens in the 90s. And man, it just melts me,
Yeah,
especially if you're a mother of a teen.
especially when, Kat gets that sketch of Jacob and she you can just see how much she
Yeah.
needs Alice's moral support to look at it together.
Exactly.
And then I just want to quickly mention a healthy relationship thing that emerged and a word that we
Ooh.
haven't really heard.
Okay.
Kat told Elliot they need to
Yes.
have boundaries.
Boundaries.
I'm like, wow, what a
The way
great
home.
moment. Yeah.
The way home. I'm gonna link. We had our guest Heidi Mills, which that episode that we did with Heidi Mills is actually our #1 episode. Which the way home episode 10 season 1 is quickly catching up and will take over here soon. But Heidi Mills has an awesome boundaries workbook. I will link it below. But I want to talk more about that moment when she was talking about the boundaries. But we're gonna have to save that for Surprising Detours.
Okay.
But I love that. I love that. Thank you, Hallmark, for giving us material. Actually, you guys, just a heads up, there's a guest episode or guest podcast episode for the Breaking Script podcast coming up because there's going to be a break in the way home. And this might be the one that we play. We have a couple in the vault that we might pull out. But there's this one where we're trying to pick a movie for this guest, and the Hallmark female lead says vagus nerve.
Not Vegas nerve.
I was like, girl, wrong vag. Not this.
No.
But Hallmark, you are like throwing stuff out at us. Like, you're
Yeah, they're
making it
giving
so
us-
easy for the Breaking Script podcast. I love that we have content here to
That's
talk about
hilarious.
healthy things. It's hilarious. Anyways, I love the relationships developing and where you
Yes.
can have conversations about the unhealthy, but also the healthy, because there are healthy things happening here. And it just, that brings me so much joy. Okay. Surprising Detours and the way we see it is going to be long today. So Surprising Detours is our second segment where we have surprises, unhealthy behaviors, or coping mechanisms. Again, sometimes that, I don't want no scrubs Nardar comes out. And I'm curious if you pulled it out this time. Let's talk about it. Let's rapid fire. Shall we rapid fire some
rapid
surprising
fire
detours?
our surprising detours? Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
The child wasn't Jacob, so my theory was right last week. I knew it wasn't well, it was Jacob, but it's not the real Jacob. Jacob's initials on the table, so Kat knows that this is his family. The acceptance of Elijah Landry to Kat as family. Even my husband was like, "Oh, that was really sweet." He said that out loud. Okay, I literally I loved that moment. And then I loved that there's a little bit and a continued reconciliation between Kat and Elliot and like forward movement in the relationship. And then obviously the Goodwin story is unfolding.
What?
Susan Augustine questioning Kat, like, oh my gosh, there's so much here. You go ahead.
And she's engaged to Jacob.
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, and Jacob.
Augustine is engaged to Jacob. Go ahead.
Also, does that mean Kat and Elliot would be related?
I'm just
okay, wait.
The way we see it is
my gosh.
Outrageous.
Wow. Okay, wait, there was one more and I forgot. Oh, possibly Jacob painted the picture of Kat.
Right? Because they talk about how he's an artist.
Yes. Okay, sorry. Keep going. Rapid fire yours.
Well, the pictures taped to the desk.
Oh,
we're gonna get to that in the way we see it. But there's pictures, there's Polaroids of the pond taped to the desk. The Casey Goodwin ends up finding Kat and asks to be Kat's intern. A little shady there. The horse doesn't time travel.
And also the horse has an owner.
And it's the neighbor, Sam
forgot.
Bishop. Ew.
I literally
Sam Bishop totally hitting on Dell.
I know. I literally though started the episode with a big question saying, who is the horse? In some ways, I thought it was like Colton reincarnated. I was like, are you guys trying to like, is this Jacob coming back as a horse?
Oh my
Nope,
gosh, please
it's not.
no. That would be like
I mean,
that'd
they're
be so
already time traveling. Is that really out of the realm of possibilities at this point? You know what I mean?
can we please not have reincarnations? Thank you very much. Also the last point is that Jacob was the one who designed, like an architect. He designed and he
Mm,
built the lighthouse
I know.
in Point Haven, which was, like that's what made Point Haven, Port Haven, Port Haven. Um, crazy, crazy, crazy. We also find out we have more of Elliot's backstory. His dad, Victor, left a lot. And man, it like that one scene where Alice is like, "Does your dad know you eat like that?" When it's like Elliot's dad, all
I
he left him was a
know.
loaf of bread and peanut butter and
I
jelly.
know.
Like, it was like
I
someone
know.
stuck a
And
knife in my
he like
stomach.
ran in the house to say goodbye, but his dad was already gone.
Ugh. And
Oh,
that's why we realize he slept in the Landry's barn so much. That's why Colton made a place for him. That's why they fed him. Like, oh my goodness. And so curious if like Colton was the only one that knew how much Elliot was alone. Like Kat didn't seem to be aware of his situation, right?
I think you're
Especially in
right.
that
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
So sad. I mean, okay. Let's break it down.
Okay.
Um, those were the surprises, but I can't, we have to talk about that whole boundaries conversation.
Okay.
Um, did you see his face? Elliot's face.
Yes. Okay. I said, did he seem sad when she said friends? Like she basically says, we need to, I don't know if she said we need to start over, but she was just like, we need to
Yeah.
have boundaries. Like we can move forward,
Yeah.
but we need to have boundaries. And then she said, like, basically like a pact, like still friends. And then his
Yeah.
face.
Because it was misleading. It was like oh my goodness, his face. I was like the most brilliant face acting where it's like you
Especially
could
because
tell he was getting hope.
yes, because he said, I never wanted you to see me like a brother. Like basically
I
the whole
know.
conversation was him telling her like I didn't want to be a part of your family. I didn't want to be your brother. I loved you. And then
I
she then
know.
returns it like let's move forward, have boundaries. Are we friends? Sure, you're right. That's super hurtful. But
Oh my gosh.
Elliot or whoever I can't remember who plays Elliot. Brilliant
Evan.
acting. You saw it
Yeah.
right on his face right away.
Oh, so good. But I love that they're talking about boundaries, but I feel like that in comparison with it's interesting because it's almost you see like two characters or two personalities emerging out of
Yes.
Elliot's character, right? So his
Yes.
interactions with Kat are very different from his interactions with
With
Alice.
Alice. Mm.
Oh, I can't wait to get it in the way we see it. But I love their banter and I love that comedic timing in their banter between Alice and Elliot, and she's coming to him and now she's the one waiting for her mom and she's realizing, "Oh my gosh, there's that empathy of like what you've been doing for us, like how hard it is
Yeah.
to be the one waiting and how
Yeah.
did you do this?" And he was like, you do it for the people you care about even if they don't ever say thank you." And then she says thank you. And then
Yeah.
he reiterates, "I'll do anything for a Landry," which, whew, Nini's mind just went to like the way we see it theories. When he said that, I was like, oh my goodness, what does that mean? I have so many theories.
Also, just while we're kind
Hmm.
of around the Cat and Elliot,
Yes.
one moment that I loved because it
Yeah.
just transcends any conflict, any situation, is the moment that Cat emerges from the pond and she's running through the field and she sees Elliot, they see each other and they're not like she's not going to go over. And she does because like Elliot is the one who knows. He knew Jacob. He
Yeah.
knows the pain and she runs to
Yeah.
him and I really thought he was going to reject her and his
Hmm.
demeanor shifts and she said she found him and you can see he's like visibly like
Genuine,
shaken,
right?
genuinely
Yeah.
like oh my gosh. And the embrace like it was so beautiful and so real because that's exactly how someone would respond in real life if that happened. And
Yeah.
just the fact that they're able to put that stuff aside, it gives
Yeah.
me a lot of hope for for Elliot because
Yeah.
you're right. There is definitely this Jekyll and Hyde or, good angel, bad angel on the shoulder. And you see both sides. I think he's a tormented soul, actually,
Of
now that I think
course he
about it.
is. And we only see so much. It's like, is their relationship healthy between Ellie and Kat? Could there potentially be a trauma bond? Like,
Oh,
honestly,
yes.
jury's still out for me because I could be pulling out the Omo Omo Nardar on Elliot. I feel like he could be a really excellent cerebral covert narcissist. If you've not listened to Caroline Strausson's podcast about the 10 different types of narcissists, I'll link it below. But the covert are the most dangerous. Actually, I saw another narcissist expert say that the religious covert are the most
Yee.
dangerous.
Yikes.
And I've heard others say they're a little more like sociopaths or psychopaths. Which is a thing. It can be a blend. But I don't know. I feel like in that moment, which your body takes over, it's not conscious, like he's not thinking, right? His body's just
Right.
responding. Was Elliot responding because because of his love for Kat and he was happy for her? Or was it more so like, see, the way this gets into the way we see it, like, what's he like? What's his motivation for finding Jacob? And also, like, how close was he? Obviously was close to Jacob and Colton also, but also it feels like there could potentially be something a little bit sinister in the way he
Huh.
was like responding, being like, come inside, tell me more. Like, I felt that a little bit. At first, I was like, oh, that was so genuine. Like, he
Oh.
really cares about her. But then I was like, wait a
Hmm.
second.
I
Anyway,
honestly I didn't get that vibe, but I tend to like very much take things at face value in the moment.
it's probably
But
healthy.
I really feel like his motivation is that he wants his family back together, but he's
Yeah.
torn because the people he wants back together are also the people that created so much chaos for him.
Yeah. There's so much I want to say more in the way we see it. But
Mhm.
I have to say here, and I meant to say this in the glimmers, but I couldn't because I needed the rapid fire surprising detours in order to point this out.
Okay.
I love how this show continuously, like, when you think it leads you to expect something, and then there's a sudden twist. Like, we think it's
Mhm.
Jacob, but it's not Jacob, but it is a Jacob, and it
Mhm.
is a Jacob Landry. And then with Elliot and Kat, like, they're cold with each other, but then they're getting closer. Are they going to get
Yeah.
together? They're going to get together. No, they're just friends. And then, like, he's hurt again. Like,
Yeah.
this constant, like, missing each other. And, like, the horse. Can we talk about the horse?
Let's talk about it.
The horse is finally, she had a horse. We find out that Dell is the way she is. She has some trauma from her past that has affected her because her father hit the farm. They lost everything, including her horse named Lightning, when she was Alice's age. And so a
Mm.
lot of the way that she is, I believe, even the way that like Landry women always have to keep busy and that level of self-sufficiency can be unhealthy. Um, but she sees this horse and this horse just melts her. If you have not tried
Yeah.
horse therapy, I highly recommend it. They have huge hearts, and so just being around, like in the presence of a horse, is incredibly
Mm.
grounding. And I loved that she um named the horse Stormy.
Yeah.
For me, that's also a glimmer because the first horse therapy session I ever did, I worked with, actually, no, this was a second horse session. I worked with a horse named Storm, except
Aw.
she was white. And the irony was that, oh, I'm getting all emotional, that
Mm.
Storm taught me calm.
That's so
And so it
good.
gave me this like full sensory experience of,
Mm.
even in the midst of storm, I can experience calm.
That's so good.
And it was like an out of body experience. So like I can go
Hmm.
back to that place and feel that calm. So I love that she called the horse Stormy. And it was one of those things where it's like, oh, Del gets her horse and it feels so like
Yeah.
serendipitous. Like,
It's so
it's
true.
this horse that was wild that just like found her. Like, that's a thing, by the way. I'll talk about it in another episode. Remind me to tell you about my join up experience. It's, I mean, like, you can have a connection with a horse. It is like, there's nothing else like it. And then you find out that the yuck guy that was hitting on her is now her neighbor, and he's accusing her of stealing said horse. Ugh. I just can't. But I love that interaction of like how, again, I remember someone taught me how to change a flat tire, and I'm sure I could probably figure it out, but I haven't changed a flat tire
That's
since
funny.
I called AAA. Um, I love that she, that's a life experience that she wanted to teach Alice. Like, it's good for women to learn these things. At the same time, it's also okay to need. I feel like I lean towards the other side. Like, it's important to learn how to receive help and to ask for help. But I love that she gave him that sass. What else? What else do we need to discuss here? Should we just do, I feel like, again, it goes alongside with the way we see it, but is there anything else in Surprising Detours specifically?
No. And I
Oh,
don't, yeah. Oh, wait, go ahead.
so this kid, this new character, Noah LeBlanc, the most popular kid at school. Which I love that Monica's like, well, you're graduated, so I don't think that applies anymore.
Yeah.
Did he not remind you of Brady?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're 100% right. Even the
So,
attitude and the hair,
so am I
very
gonna need
much
to pull out
Brady.
the Omo Nardar for this kid? I mean,
Oh my
kids can't be
gosh.
diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder,
Repeating
but
history.
is it traits because you're a teen, or is it like
Mm,
really you're gonna own that and make it part of your personality? I mean, I feel like they did that on purpose. Like, is he gonna be a jerk? And is this the new love interest? And how does this guy get in between Alice and Nick? Like, does Nick?
yeah.
So many questions. So many questions. Okay. Um. Well, let's get into it. The third segment is dead ends. It's usually what we didn't like in normal Hallmark reviews. We talk about how it's plot holes and continuity issues. Do you have any of these?
I actually personally don't. I mean, there are probably things that I could say I don't like, but they're more personal taste. But I
Mm.
didn't find that there was, I mean, I thought it was really well done. Do you have anything?
I just have a response to Dan at the Deck the Hallmark. This is the second time I've
Okay.
called him out. He used to be a history teacher. I don't know if he still is. He used to be a principal actually, but he's this historian, and he was pointing out, and I said something mistakenly on our last episode about how I was like, isn't the war over by now by 1814? But it wasn't over until 1815. I had to do a little bit of homework because I didn't actually remember the entire premise of the War of 1812. But Dan pointed out something about how when Kat showed up, like the first time she showed up in Port Haven, 1814, and she's making a joke. And he's like, doesn't she realize she's in Canada, and Canada wasn't fighting on the side of the Americans, right? They're fighting with the British.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, they wrote that in. That's why she made the joke about the Americans. Like, for me, I was like, wow, that's quick thinking. Like, if I were Kat and I'm like in fight or flight,
Yeah.
I don't think I would remember that Port Haven was in Canada because I didn't like, do you know
Grow
what I'm
up.
saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I would have remembered like, oh, the Canadians and the Americans. Like, I don't think I would have pulled up history that fast. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe because she's a journalist, she has those history facts to pull up so quickly to make a joke about when you were just shot. Like,
I know.
that's my only thing. So I went up to you, Dan. I dead ended your dead end. um, but yeah, I don't have anything else besides the fact that I wish they would have given us a little bit more about the lighthouse. I don't know. Let's just get into the way we see it, because I
Okay.
can't talk about that without doing the way we see it, which is where we talk about theories. My favorite part, Lala.
Okay.
Go right ahead. What are yours?
Okay. So this actually is courtesy of my husband. So
Ooh,
this is what he thinks.
okay.
He thinks that Jacob at some point came back to the whenever the present was, and
Okay.
he did not like something that he saw. Maybe it was the fact that Colton died, and then chose to stay in the past forever.
Whoa, I never even thought about that.
I didn't think about that either because, but I did remind my husband, which he didn't see at the beginning of season 2, there's a scene where there's
Yeah.
this lady holding Jacob's hand and basically
Mhm.
telling him not to go back in. But my husband's theory brings me back to that scene of someone
Mhm.
standing in the bushes. And then was that Jacob or was that Colton? Because I was pretty convinced that that was Colton. But
Yeah.
that theory also made me think, like, what if, because
Ooh, what
did
if
we
that
see the
was
hair?
Jacob?
The hair in
Yeah,
the sketch was quite long and thick.
it's
So what if that
true.
was Jacob? And what if Jacob came back, didn't like what he saw? Like maybe he came
Yeah,
back a few times and saw what
yeah.
happens.
And
And
then
then,
decided to stay.
yes, but I would be disappointed because I really want Colton to come back. I
Okay, so here in
need
the way we
Colton to
see it,
come
we
back.
also have observations. It's not just theories, because it's like everyone sees the same scene but has a different interpretation, right? Which is what we just saw
Yes.
here. Um, because I don't think Jacob has choice in the time
Mhm.
travel. I feel like, remember we had this whole discussion about how there's like the timekeepers from Loki, like there's people controlling the pond, and I feel um like, because especially the voices in the first episode where Kat and Alice jump in together and you hear their voices in the pond, like, do we know who that is? Like, no, and they only pull Kat instead of Alice. I feel like there's keepers of the pond. I feel like, and so that was my question is, do you think that in that first episode of season 2, um, is the woman holding Jacob's hand Rebecca Landry,
I
Elijah and
was
Landry's
wondering
wife?
that.
Or
She
is that
seems too old
oh,
because 24 years later, and Elijah still looks younger than that woman in that initial scene.
so maybe it's a Goodwin or an Augustine.
That's what
Like,
I'm thinking. It's another family that knows
yeah,
about the pond and that's trying
yeah.
to control it. The Landrys don't know about it.
Okay. So here's another thing, because listen, you, the Way Home fans, which I don't think there's a name that's been landed yet. I've heard Ponderers is one
It's
Facebook
funny.
group is calling, because, Hallmark fans have names like Chesapeake Shores are Chessies, When the Calls the Heart are Hardies. People who love Tyler Hines are Heinies.
Hmm.
For the Way Home, so far I've heard Ponderers, which I'm like, And then Deck the Hallmark, they're like, how about the Way Homies? I'm like, ooh, I can get down with that, the Way Homies, except we need like a one word. So we can't
Like
just be like
homers.
homies. Homers. That's hilarious.
Homers.
Okay. So people taking all kinds of crazy screenshots and coming up with all kinds of theories, like literally like
Mm.
zooming in
Zooming
on
in.
the no, seriously, they're zooming in. Like there's this in Elliot's house, there's this picture on the wall of a guy diving into water and there's like this circle around him. It's like,
Huh.
has he been time traveling? There's people took pictures of the picture frames at the Longermeyer estate of the Goodwins
Mm.
house, like crazy. So not only that, but somebody took a screenshot and zoomed in on Colton's guitar, which is
Okay.
also Alice's guitar.
Right.
And there is the name Coil as a sticker,
Oh.
Coyle, on the guitar.
Okay.
So what do these Augustine, Landry, Goodwin's, Coyle? What does the Coyle family have to do with this? Because that was the guy that shot Kat. And
Oh.
was that guy waiting for her? Was that gun was it really a deer or was it waiting for her to come out of the
Oh, I
pond?
think it was waiting for her.
I
Definitely.
agree. This is why this is observations, because it changes our theories.
Growing up, see deer all the time my whole life. Like I've never thought a deer was a person. You know what I
100%.
mean?
Yeah,
He was waiting
I
for
do.
her.
He was waiting for her. So, who is he? What does that mean? And as far as villains go, jury's still out for me. Like, I feel like Elliot could potentially still turn into a villain. And I have felt that since season 1, like since I realized that he had been taking notes. Like I've felt that since the beginning. Or actually even before that. I felt that when he was like when he told Alice he would always be there for her, I felt it felt sinister to me. Casey Goodwin. I think it's a possibility
That
that's a
she
villain.
plays a role. Yeah.
I think so. I like the fact she knows too much about Kat.
Too much.
Like,
yeah, actually, she knew a lot coming in there. And Kat even said, "Oh, you've done your research."
exactly. So, also, is she time traveling too? I think it's possible.
It could be.
I think there's certain families that have the time traveling gift or have been bestowed that honor because it feels like someone's controlling it or some I don't know. Anyway,
I agree.
I think that she could become a villain. I think that she came to Port Haven to find more answers. I don't know. I have a feeling. Um lots of boats, right? Like Jacob in this storyline, Jacob is out. I know it's a port, but still like all these boats in the storyline I feel like are going to have a connection somehow. Like Jacob is out getting a ship. Colton has a boat that they never set sail. Nick was basically a party boy on yachts. Like what are the connections? Connect the dots for
Ooh.
me. I feel like those are some dots to connect. Like, oh, and because of that, do you think Elliot's dad is a fisherman?
That's what I feel like. Did they not say that? I think I've always assumed that.
No, I don't feel like it's ever been said, but I've assumed that too. So it's interesting that you also did. He must be some type of fisherman that goes out on the boats and
Only
but
makes sense
you
unless
would
he's like a truck driver, but I think fisherman in the context of the
yeah,
way home makes a lot more sense.
that's a truck driver. That's hilarious. So there's so much. I feel like I don't know why I'm just like everyone's a villain. Maybe that's my unhealthy subconscious trauma issues. Um, because I feel like all of Dell's beaux, so the men that have pursued her, like Byron and Sam Bishop, like what if Byron is a coil? What Sam Bishop, how, I don't know. I feel like Byron could be a coil. I feel like Sam Bishop isn't um a part of these like 4 families that we've talked about so far that are represented in Port Haven. Um, but I don't know. He feels, I don't know. Dell, just get a horse. Get another horse. You don't need a man. Get a horse. Um, anyhow, those are my I still think that something happens between Alice and Elliot. Like I felt very sinister the way that he told her. Sinister's not the right word. He wasn't being evil. It was a warning. It was like, don't
About
be so eager to time travel again because
yeah.
whatever you do, you can't take it back. And so what I hoping that the next time she goes back to the 2000s, the early 2000s, is hopefully we finally get to see, which probably not. I'm predicting that we're not going to see it till episode 6 because episode 6 of season 1 was epic, where it's like so many pieces came together that you would have never imagined. But I can't wait to see, like, that was the carnival episode where we finally found out when Jacob is lost. Do you think we're going to have to wait till episode 6 to see what happened at the mansion?
At least. I really don't think we're going to meet Jacob. My guess is that this season's going to be a lot of like limboing through the situation and we're going to get closer to the end before we actually see Jacob, before we know what happened at the party. Like, I think it's gonna kind of all happen really fast. If not, personally, I'm just gonna throw this out here.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're actually gonna meet Jacob till season 3.
That would be
I think
horrible.
we'll
They can't
maybe
do that to
see
us.
him, but
not Cat, not meet him.
yes, that's kind of what
Okay.
I'm thinking.
That'll be interesting. I don't know.
I hope I'm
still is
wrong.
homework.
I hope I'm wrong.
Okay. Well, and how do you feel? Like, I feel like that was a legitimate conversation that Elliot had with Kat. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Jacob has grown up in the 1800s. He's an adult and has a fiance. When you find him, would you bring him back to the 2023, 4?
That's a hard question. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's all he knows. It's a
It would
that's
feel like a kidnapping.
I
And
know.
that feels so sad. But how and why? Why did the Landrys leave his name out of the almanac?
Yeah, I did
Like,
wonder about that. I don't know.
and what?
Because maybe they are trying to hide him. Because they said we knew someone would come and find you or whatever.
Because clearly there's been other time travelers, so they know it's a thing. Like, they can't mess up the timeline, or like, and how much is Elliot involved in that? Like, so many questions. Also the song
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't get it. The song that Elijah Landry said that child Jacob sang all the time.
What
That
song
wasn't,
it was? I didn't know
yeah.
that song.
That wasn't Colton's song for Dell.
Well, that's what I was wondering, but I don't know. I didn't recognize it.
I didn't recognize it either. So, Ponderers or the Way Homies, somebody's got to have picked it up. I was surprised I haven't seen anything about that yet because, man, some of these theories are something else. Like someone said, what if Casey Goodwin is I can't remember, like, could be a descendant of Kat and Elliot. I was like, I don't even know how you guys got there. I couldn't follow. Anyhow, I think that's it for me.
I think that's it for me.
I love it. Been so fun. Do we have any final thoughts or favorite quotes?
No, I honestly, I'm just excited to get to the next episode because, what's her name? Jacob's fiance, is her name Susanna? Susanna knows about the pond now.
She knows.
So
that
I hope
time travels.
Yes. And we know that there's some reconciliation because obviously there's a picture that gets painted. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Oh, I think Colton painted her.
Colton?
I think Colton is in the 1800s, and I think he painted Kat. I feel like they were pulling of the way home because that's what they do. They make you expect a certain way, and then so I think Colton was there, and that's why it says my Catherine, because Colton said my Catherine, like,
oh my gosh.
off screen.
I literally dropped my AirPod. Oh my gosh.
She was so surprised.
Okay, we could literally go on forever.
I know. And I just wanted to point out that I love the conversation that I can't remember if it was between Kat and Dell or Alice and Dell, and we see a flashback of Dell and Colton. Colton wants to give Dell the world and wants to buy her a measly horse, he calls it. And she says, we can't both be dreamers. And that kind of surprised me that Dell was the dreamer of the two of them. But when she's talking to, I think it was Alice or was it Kat, where she was talking about how Colton always had this way about him, like this childlike joy that he was able to hang on to. You guys play, have fun. That is like the most healing thing. Like those childlike feelings of joy can be some of the most healing to your nervous system. So
yes,
that's my final thought. And I just cannot believe that we have to wait a week, you guys. So next week is the Super Bowl. So there will not be a Breaking Script The Way Home podcast episode next week. We'll have a guest episode for you, but and it'll be an awesome one. So tune in for that. But happy Super Bowl. Actually, Happy Chinese New Year.
Yes. And
Or
then
Happy Lunar New Year, excuse me. Happy Lunar New Year, literally the day before the Super Bowl. So you know what I did? Here's a
What?
life hack.
Okay.
So you can buy all red and gold decorations. So we also had a family birthday, so I bought all red and gold balloons because because it's for the birthday. It's also for Lunar New Year because red and gold are red is for good luck. For Chinese, it's a very auspicious color. And also for Super Bowl, because doesn't matter what team you're rooting for,
So
it's
true.
red and gold.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 49ers. And which, you know, I have
Chiefs.
family in California, so lots of 49ers fans. But obviously we're Kansas City, so we're Chiefs fans. And Valentine's Day.
Oh my gosh. Wow, you are killing it
You're
over
welcome.
there in
Follow
the
for more life
decorating.
hacks.
Yeah. Thanks for breaking script with us. Please share your glimmers by leaving a review for our show in the Apple Podcast and share our show on your social media and tag the Breaking Script Podcast. Double check that you've hit that button to follow us on your preferred podcast platform, and be sure to hit the notification bell so you get an alert and never miss an episode. We'll see you again next time. Bye.
Bye. 加油.